Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this afternoon. My name is Dominique, and we have the rest of the Greenleaf team here with us today. We have our two hosts, Avi and Andrew, and helping drive this live stream, we have Natalie. We're going to go ahead and get started. The attendee list is growing and growing. But as always, we like to start off Greenleaf Connect with a couple of standard practices. First and foremost, Greenleaf Connect's mission really is to be direct, informative, and overall provide transparency. We host weekly live streams and private Connect events every Thursday afternoon with a new topic every week that highlights a portion of our business. Live streams are open to the public, while private Connect events are really more interactive. Okay, as always, to start, first, you do have the option to change your presentation view. Feel free to change it to speaker spotlight view, or you can click and drag to make the presentation or our panelists bigger or smaller. There is a Q&A feature located at the bottom of your screen under the reactions button. Feel free to use that to submit any questions that you may have. You do not need to wait until the end. You can submit any questions throughout the duration of the presentation. And lastly, this live stream is recorded and will be shared with you by the end of the week this week. All right, now that we've gotten that out of the way, really today, folks, we're going to be discussing, really introducing industrial, and then we'll dive into the Covington Flex opportunity as a whole, and then we'll close with that question and answer portion at the end. All right, without further ado, I will pass it over to our hosts, Avi and Andrew. Thanks, everyone.
Here it goes. We start now. So, Avi, I was listening to morning radio like I do with my wife many mornings, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, morning radio talks about the price of industrial. Now, so Greenleaf, we're either following a trend, leading a trend, or trailing a trend. And all of a sudden, with industrial, we're actually following or leading a trend right now. And I just want to read you this quote that morning radio had on. It was about warehouse space being overwhelmed right now, about America's shopping spree and all of the e-commerce that's coming up right now. But in a matter of a year, warehousing rents in some markets have doubled. Brand new buildings that would normally sit vacant for months are selling space before they're even finished. So the demand right now for industrial and flex is unexpected and also beyond what it's been in pre-COVID years. So, let's talk a little bit about Greenleaf strategy when we're buying things. So, how does Greenleaf make money? So we either improve something physically, we fix something operationally, so we improve management, or we actually do something in the on the P&L and fix some type of finance instrument like debt terms or rents or something like that. So with physical improvements, a lot of times we could fix things like roofs and parking lots and bathrooms and just make something nicer and more desirable. Operational improvements include things like better management, getting better vendor pricing, cost savings like installing LED lights. LED lights are a big deal right now. And also make sure your property is staffed correctly. We talked a little bit about improving the finances, like you can get cheaper debt. We just refinanced a property recently. We went from 5.4% to about 3-point-something%. And we just made money just by changing the debt terms. And then also changing lease terms, like going from more of a full service lease, which costs the landlord more, or a triple net lease, which costs the landlord less. And that's another way to actually improve finances inside of a deal. And ultimately, the value of the property is always going to be driven by something called the weighted average lease term. And so the longer lease term we have in these properties, the larger or the higher the value of the property will be. So now we are expanding Greenleaf's portfolio into industrial and flex, and we are looking at, I believe right now, it's 150,000 square feet of space. So, and Avi is leading that charge. And so, Avi, why don't you kind of tell us a little bit about industrial and what we're doing at Greenleaf right now?
Sure. Yeah, it's almost 200,000 square foot now.
200,000 from 150,000. That's awesome.
We have two more deals that we found. And going back to your warehouse code there, no wonder I cannot find deals. Everybody's talking about it.
You've got to chase deals now because the prices are going up, and you got to find the right deals. But you know what? You're following the trend. You're doing exactly what we need to do. as property values are going up, we're buying them as they're going up. And so that's the whole
Sure.
game right there.
True. Yeah, so to talk about industrial, to define the asset class, industrial real asset estate covers a wide variety of properties, cold storage facilities, heavy manufacturing, light manufacturing, just a warehouse, flex warehouses, and probably more. And the demand for overall the asset class has skyrocketed in the last few years because of, as we all know, e-commerce boom, which I think is expected to be almost 20% of the total US retail sales this year.
20% of retail sales in the
Yeah.
US will be e-commerce.
Yeah,
So
compared to-
Amazon, eBay, all the mail order services.
Yeah, and if you compare that to 2019, it was half of that, 11%. And this trend will only continue as e-commerce takes larger shares going
That's like,
forward.
so in 3 years, it's doubled.
Exactly.
Wow.
And there's no slowing down, right?
Yeah.
So out of all of these assets that I just said, we are going specifically after flex industrial warehouses for a few reasons. One, to define flex before I go into the reason, flex space is just a simple warehouse with office in the front and warehouse in the back, allowing a lot of flexible users to use it. And we'll go into detail what kind of tenant pool we are targeting later on, but you have access from the front, like glass front, and then you have a drive-in roll-up door in the back. So why that kind of asset? One, it has outperformed all other asset class in both NOI growth and demand. Second, the supply is not there because of zoning limitations, construction cost, driving vacancy to historical low.
So someone just doesn't go out and build a flex space down the street from someplace because they needed to build it 20 years ago when the land was cheap. And,
Exactly.
okay.
And all new buildings are Class A Amazon warehouses because that's where you make money. The
Right.
builders.
The builders are making money, right?
Exactly.
And then they sell them for a very low cap rate that to some insurance company that does,
Yeah.
doesn't need that big rate of return.
Exactly. And then the last reason is tenant retention is really high because there's no supply. Once they're in your building, they won't leave because they cannot find spaces. And usually this kind of tenant, they don't need nicer, or they don't upgrade to a better space unless there's a business need. So to summarize, we are very bullish on flex warehouses because of all these trends, and it's going to continue for the next few years.
So, to talk about the deal itself, so this deal is in Covington, Georgia, and Covington, Georgia is part of Metro Atlanta, correct?
Yeah.
And what would you like to share with us about the deal? So why don't you kind of give us some of the deal basics?
Sure. Yeah, like you said, it's part of Atlanta MSA. It's probably 10, 15 miles east of downtown Atlanta. 2007 built, 4 buildings, single story, metal built, big facade, almost 43,000 square foot. We are paying $4.15 million, $96 per square foot. The building is currently 100% occupied. And the simple business plan for this is go in and mark all of existing tenants to market while managing tenant retention.
So, I mean, first of all, we'll get into this later, but you're saying that the current rents are actually too low. And so there's a big opportunity around rents right now during when renewals come up.
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
probably 20-25% below market.
Okay, so that's a good thing.
That's a
Number
good
one,
thing.
the rents are low, so they'll want to stay. And then number two, there's opportunity for growth. And we could even increase rents 10% and they'd still want to stay because they can't go someplace for a cheaper rent at all. Because
Exactly.
there is no cheaper rent. So, we all know location's a prime driver of this type of space. And so, I know you want to be near a highway exit, you want to be near some type of service area. So can you talk about this kind of service area concept? And I think we talked about this before the meeting, before we started talking here, but like plumbers and electricians, like give us a little bit of insight into that.
Yeah, I mean, correct. Like all of these industrial warehouses that I'm after, big or small, they are always near highways, airports, train stations, ports, and high dense infill areas because they are trying to capture demand from businesses who are seeking warehouse storage, service providing type spaces to cater to populations. And for this specific, you are looking at the map, the star is where the property is, and it's well situated to service surrounding cities, Covington, Conyers, but also Atlanta market, which is 10, 15 minutes away from location.
So you can service Atlanta, you could service Metro Atlanta without the Metro Atlanta rent, without the Metro Atlanta prices. So essentially it's living in a very cheap area and servicing a very high dense area.
Exactly.
Okay. And so your customers are pretty broad. I mean, whoever can service Metro Atlanta could actually be a tenant in this facility.
Yep.
How far is it off the highway?
It's 2 minutes.
2 minutes off the highway.
Yeah, I
Gotcha. All right, so let's, anything else you want to talk about for a location?
Yeah, so little just at the parcel next to ours, they just or they already broke ground last year. So they opened one of the 4 regional headquarters next to our building. And the reason they decided was strong regional infrastructure and whatever the city is doing. So that kind of gives you idea, why we're buying in the location. If you look at the map, we don't have any properties in that I-20
South of 20.
Yeah, yeah. But then all of these factors we talked about, and Facebook opening a data center 10 minutes from here, and Little opening its regional headquarter kind of supports our theory of this is going to be an amazing location in a few years.
So it also looks like you're about, is it 20 or 25 minutes from the airport too?
Yeah, in 2025.
And then, so if we were to talk about like what these things sell for, are we buying this, is this below market, is this above market? So how does our purchase price compare to what's being sold in this area? So I think I've heard like, usually these locations are selling for about $140 a square foot, but you're buying this at 96 or so. Go ahead, tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. So first, if you look at the table above, there were not a lot of comps. So the 2 I have are very recent ones, similar looking buildings, glass front, dock, driving doors in the behind, metal built, within a few miles from our building, and we're paying the least among them. So that gives us comfort. We're getting good basis. And like you said, if you expand that radius a little bit, we'll capture more comps, but then we're so close to Atlanta where these buildings are trading for 30-40% premium.
I mean, so to me, like a Metro Atlanta person who needs to expand, who has some probably not so nice space in Atlanta, could move out, and actually the rent is probably a lot higher in Metro Atlanta. Could you even guess what Metro Atlanta rent might be right now?
It's probably $3 more than what they would.
So 30% more than what they can move to us for a 30%, roughly 30% discount, and be accessible to a highway, and that 30% would go right to their bottom line.
Exactly, and service the same population and same areas.
Yes, and they're just adding a 15-minute drive to their service area.
Exactly.
Okay. So, we talked a little bit about the rents and how the rents are below market. So why don't you talk a little bit about the lease comparables and what you found in the area?
Yeah, again, similar concept. We're comparing recent lease transactions. You'll look at the table, very recent leasing activities, similar looking buildings a few miles from our building, and the current ownership is getting $9.70 per square foot, and the market is telling us we are going to get $11. So
20% right there.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that kind of substantiates our business plan.
So you got 2 value propositions. You got number 1, you're 20% below market. And then number 2, there's actually relocation opportunity for people to move from more expensive space in more of the central city to less expensive space, a little bit outside 285.
True.
So as far as the deal, this is our investment overview. I want you to go into a little bit about this and what we're paying. And I also noticed that we have a little bit of capital we're going to spend on this place. We're going to spend about $180,000 of capital. So tell us, what the plan is, what the overall investment looks like, and what we're doing with these capital improvements.
Sure. Yeah, like you said, to your left, you'll see we're buying it for $4.15 million. We're spending $180,000. I think we are sealing and painting parking lots. We are repairing, replacing some HVAC units, and I think one of the buildings roof needs repair. So that's where the money is going. The capital structure and fees are consistent, deal over deal. But if you focus on the right side, kind of shows your projection from year 1 to year 5. And you see with our, if we execute our leasing plan, the NOI grows almost $120,000 in 5 years. The cash and cash grows from 3.5 to 10%, and total return almost doubles from 8 to 16%. And that's purely just, marking current 100% occupied units to market.
What caught my attention is on the bottom right. So just strictly based on a cash on cash return, or your total investment return just on cash without a sale or anything. In year 5, you're already getting to 16% just through the natural rent increases.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good return.
Yeah, not even being aggressive. Like we're not going in and being, market leader there. We are just below market.
Well, you talk about the new story. That means, even though rents are $11 a square foot right now in the market, and we're roughly 9.
Yeah.
That means over the next 5 years, rents are going to go up to 12 or 13. I'm assuming too.
Probably more.
Oh, probably more. So
Yeah.
if we so rents go up to $15 a square foot.
Yeah.
That would be a home run. So do you have anything else like HVACs or?
Yeah. The HVAC, this is 2007 built. So a lot of the, mechanicals are fairly new.
Okay.
But then some requires repair, and Greenleaf strategy is, if we go in, if we see some, old units, even if it's working, we change it.
Right, you're just cycling through the end of life. All the HVACs that are at end of life, you just cycle through them. So you have a smooth capital plan rather than have to replace 5 at one time. So you replace 1 every year instead of 5 in 1 year.
Sure.
Okay. So let's talk about some of the tenants in here. So we talked about weighted average lease term, and the average lease for one of these tenants, they basically seem like they're on year to year because this is the type of operations we're doing. But tell us, number one, a little bit about the tenant pool, and why are the lease terms? A lot of people are going to ask why the lease terms so short.
Yeah, no, I get that question 100% of the time when people are looking at comparing, lease term from industrial to maybe office or triple net, right? Like you said,
I get 10-year leases all the time. So
yeah, exactly, and that's where your value is driven by, right?
Right.
Unlike that here, it's intentional, right? The market is moving so fast. We don't want to have 10-year lease and lose out on all the rent for 10 years. For instance, our leases are usually 2 to 3% rent escalation.
Right.
And Covington submarket, the rent growth for last year was 9%. So think about if you had 5-year lease, you lose out, 40% rent growth if you consider compounding.
I like to buy more properties with 9% rent growth every year.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how to do that?
Yeah, let's talk offline.
Let's talk offline about
Yeah.
that. Okay, good.
Tenant pool for these B and C class flex warehouses that we are after, it will always be small businesses, mom and pop, running. For instance, this building has a pet cemetery, CrossFit, film studio, SVAC, plumbing guy.
Okay, so there's your token plumber in there too. So the
Yeah.
plumber has the service area, and that's what we talked about before. The plumber could actually
Exactly.
service Covington, or the plumber could service
Conyers.
Metro Atlanta.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's not he's not renting Atlanta warehouse,
right.
he's renting there, but then he's driving back and forth to service the Conyers, Covington, but also Atlanta MSA.
Right. So, any other interesting tenants of note that you want to talk about? Who's your favorite tenant? You have a favorite tenant?
I don't know if I call it favorite, but the pet cemetery that guy had multiple businesses, and that is making so much money. He closed all of his businesses and he's focusing on that.
A pet cemetery.
Yeah,
But the pet cemetery is not there. I'm assuming
it is there.
there's a pet cemetery.
Yeah. He's cremating.
He's cremated.
Yeah.
Okay, a crematorium, not a cemetery. Okay.
Sorry, yeah.
I'm thinking like he's burying
No.
cats and dogs on the property. So,
I don't know if he is. Hopefully not. But
I thought CrossFit would have been your favorite tenant.
probably. Interesting one is that one.
Okay.
And gym is also a good one. But funny story, when we were touring this building, the owner got an email from one of the tenants saying, "Hey, why were people looking at my unit? I have full intention of renewing my lease. You know, I know it's gonna be next year, but I'm not gonna leave. So please do not show this space to other people. And the owner was, hey, look at the demand here. You know, like it's kind of telling us you won't have a hard time leasing these spaces.
These are really good problems.
I know.
These are good problems for Greenleaf to have. So why don't we go to the next slide and talk about, I want to say my favorite slide, but essentially the deal economics. So
Yeah.
what does the cash flow look like for this property? So tell us a little bit about, you know, what investments look like, what first year, what, you know, what your exit looks like, and overall investment returns.
Sure. Yeah. So this slide just, you know, summarizes and quantifies our business plan here. Year 0, you know, that's our equity injection, and then year 1 through 5 cash flow, and year 5 exit with a hypothetical liquidation. And if we were to execute our plan, it's going to be 20% IRR, 2.4x equity multiple.
That's pretty strong. That's
It
strong.
is strong.
And what caught my attention too is year 1 to year 2. So that's amazing.
Yeah, the cash flow doubles because year one we have baked in some vacancy while we are renewing and, you know, marking them to market, and year 2 through year 5 is staggering because we're just going to get, you know, annual escalation or whatever we mark everybody to market.
20 to 21% IRR. I'd call that pretty much a home run. So that's a strong deal.
Yeah, and this is without factoring in market rent growth. This is just an annual 3% escalation. If market were to move 9% like it's doing right now, that's going to be significant.
So when rents go from $9 a square foot to $14 or $15 a square foot, this is, you're blowing everything out of the water.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, but then at the bottom, you'll see we sensitize our exit, because we won't know, you know, if there's going to be a cap rate compression or expansion. So we just kind of want to show how it'll look, you know, if it were to move in either way.
It's exciting. And tell you the truth, look, I mean, you're modeling 14% to 26%. I'd even take the 14%.
I know, me too. Yeah.
Yeah. So good job, Avi. Good job.
Thanks.
So anything else notable about?
I guess we covered everything, unless, you know, we have specific questions.
Well, maybe we should turn it back over to Dominique. And Dominique, you want to kind of finish it out for us?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Avi and Andrew, for providing those details on Covington Flex. For those who have an investment interest in Covington Flex, your subscription agreement will become available to you within the next week or so. And then we ask for the subscription to be due along with funds by December 7th, all for a closing of December 14th. We did take that extension there. So definitely want to notify the partnership of that.
And Dominic, it's also very important. This is a full deal, fully funded so far.
Yes, this deal is fully fundraised. Congratulations,
Yes.
Avi. We thank you, everybody, for your time. Right now, we are going to dive into that Q&A portion, and we will bring Natalie on this screen for us.
Thank you, Dominique, and thank you to everyone who submitted questions. We also want to remind you that you can continue to use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen to submit questions as we work through those that have come in so far. So first, can you highlight the background of the seller and let us know why they are selling?
Avi, I'm going to leave that one to you. So
Sure.
go.
The ownership, so these 4 buildings we're buying were owned by different groups. So the current ownership, they consolidated the properties, and during COVID, they did an exceptional job of taking occupancy from, I think, 80%, 100%. So they feel like they have done their value add and they want to move on to another project. So that's why they're selling.
Makes sense. Now, with the property being 100% leased, can you remind us again where the value creation lies?
I'll leave that one to you too, since you're the expert.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 100% occupied, which is great. But then I was, you know, as we were talking earlier, the rents are almost 25% below market. So the simple value add is going in and marking all of these below market tenants to market rent, and the lease term, like we were again discussing earlier, are so short. I think 66% of the tenant lease expire next year, so that will allow us to go in and bring everybody to market year 1.
Okay. And our last question is, how difficult will it be to release a space if a tenant were to leave?
I can take it again.
Yeah, no, I want to do this one. No, I was just kidding, you do it.
Yeah, going back to our early point and the funny story, I mean, the current ownership has a waiting list of people trying to move in. There's simply no availability of this kind of space. The stock market vacancy is less than 4%. So I don't think there's going to be any difficulty filling any vacant space if some of the tenants would not renew.
Great. Well, those are all the questions we have. Again, we want to thank everyone for participating. And of course, we want to thank Andrew and Avi for sharing the details of our new Covington Flex deal. As we wrap this up, we'll pitch this back over to Dominique to review our upcoming dates.
Absolutely. We have these up on the screen for everybody as we close out. The holidays are upon us, so Greenleaf Connect is going to take a slight pause. But in light of that, thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget to check out our Greenleaf Connect YouTube channel for all of our recorded live streams, with this recording being made available by the end of the week this week. This concludes our.
No, what about tonight, Dominique? You haven't invited everybody for tonight.
Andrew, you scare me every time. We do have our Zaxby's closing celebration located in Zaxby's, Kennesaw. Andrew, you have so many Zaxby's, I can't even keep the location.
Please join us tonight at Zaxby's for free chicken fingers and French fries. We will host an investor gathering tonight, and Dominique and I will be there at 5 o'clock. If you need more details, call us and we'll tell you when, where it is, and you can come get some free chicken fingers or the new chicken sandwich that they're competing with Chick-fil-A.
Actually, oh no, I can't say that while we're on the air.
Okay.
I would love to. I would love to host a friendly competition with
Chick-fil-A versus
everybody's chicken
Zaxby's.
lovers.
Oh, you can do that.
Taste
Hey.
test.
We can do a taste. Hey, there's an idea for 2022.
Please do not quote myself on that. Well, thank you everybody for joining. We certainly appreciate you logging on this afternoon, and we look forward to having you on our upcoming live streams. Thanks again and enjoy your day.